scare the defense a little and make them respect that deep ball a little bit more. But when I say this to people, the reaction I kind of get is like, no, that's not, we need to deal with defense first or defensive tackle first. It's like, yes, I totally agree.
No.
Yeah, but
there's multiple things.
There's multiple things.
You could come up with 10 things that the Cowboys need to do differently than last week to win against the Baltimore Ravens, really.
Everything. But my point just being is like, this is still something I think is going to be a headache for the Cowboys, even though we look back at last week. I'm not putting the blame on offense, but I think that this is something that the Cowboys need to try to focus on this week. And it's kind of matching the run game to hold on to the football. But passing yards per game have had their lowest average yards since 1992. And it did go up a little. I think it went up to around 200 from this, just including week 2. But it's still significantly lower and following this trajectory downward. They've also had the lowest touchdowns per game since 1991, which is like 1.1.
Well, we noticed this last year, too. I'm going to say this, and we didn't go into EPA or anything fancy, but we were talking about, and we've been saying this actually, I think, since 2021, especially you, AJ, saying how we thought defenses were going to start making a comeback.
Yeah.
And is it the defense is getting better? Is it them offense is going back to running plays? You don't know, but the passing game is shrinking. That's kind of the takeaway I'm getting from this.
That's the takeaway. And my thoughts on that is I think that the defense has to be the first ones to evolutionize the game, because if they don't, then the offense will just keep doing what's working.
Yep.
The offense can make adjustments to increase the technical aspect of the game, but only to a certain point where it becomes like, why are you adjusting things? What you have is working. So the defense needs to shift to mutate the offense, right?
It's kind of like in jail, right? The prisoners are always trying to come up with newer stuff, and the guards are trying to catch them.
But you can't until you know what they're doing.
You can't catch them unless you can't catch them unless they've beat you with something.
So I'm sure it works both ways, but that's just my thought. Is like,
and they hit the showers.
Defense would adjust to the new things the offense is doing, and then the offense then adjusts to beat the defense. And I think we're in that defense adjustment phase where the defense is doing things that the offense has not experienced yet, and that could be a contribution. Last half of this is the rushing yards per game have gone up. They've had the most average rushing yards since the 1980s. In the 1980s, the rushing yards were like 130 average per game. Like, it was insane.
It was just battle. Everyone just get yourself a stud, get yourself a stud running back, and hammer the hole.
It was insane. And then touchdowns per game, it's not a lot, but when we're talking about points, it's gone 0.9 for the last 7 years straight, and there was even a 1 average. So every game there was a rushing touchdown scored for every game in the NFL. And before that, it was lingering around 0.7, 0.8. So obviously small increase, but significant in terms of percentage. And final thing, why I think that this matters on top of that is we've only had 17 of our attempts go to CeeDee Lamb out of 72. 17 attempts, targets have been CeeDee Lamb out of 72 pass attempts from Dak Prescott. That's only 23%. You really want that for a stud like CeeDee up to be at least above 30 and probably closer to like 35, taking 1/3 of those receptions going towards CeeDee Lamb. The reason I bring that point up is because I was harping on the Cowboys needing better options. And that still may be true. But the fact is, when I saw this stat, I was like, oh, well, first of all, let's start feeding CeeDee Lamb the ball. And then I went to my next thing was like, okay, well, what about the run game of the Cowboys? And that led me down this kind of rabbit hole here. So long story short, what I'm getting to is the Cowboys need to implement the run game in a way that's effective for them so that they can use it throughout the whole game. It doesn't have to be the 15-yard breaking runs that we're seeing, but it needs to be when you are 3rd and 6, you are able to pick up that 6 down instead of having to rely on passing. Because they'll just, in this point, I don't, with that CeeDee Lamb stat, you don't know, is it because they're double covering CeeDee and so you don't throw the ball to him, obviously? But anyways, that's my thought here. That 17 of 72 attempts have gone 17. Only 17 passes have gone to CeeDee Lamb this year so far in 2 games.
That's bad.
Expected?
I felt it was expected just based on him not being through training camp and just still trying to go to him, but not in every scenario. I think we're going to start seeing that ramping up a bit more now that we're in like week 3. And
that's just attempts.
That's just attempts.
That's terrible.
So out of the 7,
it's not That's not reception.
That's terrible.
What's CeeDee Lamb's total targets?
17.
17
Sorry,
total targets.
catches on those total targets.
He had 5. I think he has 10 or 11.
9 receptions.
9 receptions. So he had 4 last week and 5 the week before, I think. So that's terrible.
That's what I expect Tolbert or Cooks to be getting.
I expect CeeDee Lamb's stat line right there. 9 receptions, 17 targets, 151 yards, and a touchdown.
12-25.
I want that every game.
I want 12. Yeah, yes.
At least target him 17 times, man. The issue is look below it. Like there just hasn't been a lot of. That's not a lot of targets, anyways. Tolbert, why the hell's Tolbert getting 11?
Yeah.
Guess he's open. I don't know.
And that's I thought when I first jumped into this, I was like, had this thought that, oh man, the Cowboys need a burner, and I still think that they do need someone, and they might be on the team. They're just not utilizing that person, forcing the defense to respect the deep ball on the Cowboys, which would help the run game just by making sure the defense is taking a half set. Yeah, stretching the field. But I digress. But what my initial thought was, Tolbert's getting the ball, or sorry, we're not throwing the ball to Tolbert. We're not throwing the ball to Cooks. But then when I came here, I was like, actually, this is probably in line with what I expect them on terms of a percentage basis.
Oh, totally.
Except for I reversed it, my thought, and I was like, oh, they're not getting the ball too little. They're getting Tolbert might be getting the ball a little too much. And
the issue is not having Ferguson there.
Yep.
Ferguson was a big blow to that offense, and we saw it with those two interceptions. Mind you, the Brooks one was a fall down, but I wonder if Scooney was there because he was throwing to the part of the field. You could see that, right? If Ferguson was there, I wonder if Ferguson would have got that pass instead of Brooks, where he slipped and Dak ended up throwing that interception. But anyways, Ant, enough of me.